to contentment. And of course, the last time I shared a sermon, I was talking about what you'd see is the real spectacular stuff. I mean, me personally, I've seen a friend, delivered from heroin addiction in one day, after trying to come off heroin and all the stuff that goes on with that, to being healed in one day, just like that, I've personally had visions from God, dreams from God, all these different things that come along with it. And some more spectacular stuff, like God driving unclean spirits out of a person's life, and all these things that are just absolutely amazing. And it's very difficult to use another word than like tremendous, amazing, spectacular, because it's really exciting stuff. It's so enjoyable, leaving me gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. And I'm not unique, as I sit here as a Christian pastor, I'm preaching God's word. Many Christians around the world can just say, yeah, we've seen that, we know God can do that, It is a part of being a Christian, a part of being in the worldwide body of Christ, the church. These things aren't normal as such, that we never claim them to be commonplace, because God's not common, but they are spectacular, and many Christians experience these things, not just me. And one of the things that can happen, especially when you experience these things, is that you can actually find normal life quite mundane then. I can remember that, getting some of my first visions or some of my real words from God early on, where I was working at the time, and just thinking to myself, how can I walk back inside and design heating systems and sell boilers and sell solar panels and all that sort of things, you've got this reality of God. And it really rocks you. It's a good rocking, but you get rocked. And you can then see that life, man alive, is pretty mundane compared to what the unseen is. But to my amazement, over the time, God brought me to a place, and he brings many Christians to that same place, where you actually find the mundane quite amazing, where you actually really begin to appreciate, really begin to enjoy just life itself. Can't have visions every day and dreams every day and all that sort of stuff. There's some people that are called to really be in that a lot. They can focus their time on that. But for most people, we've got jobs, we've got family. There's things going on. But this is where God starts to strike his brilliance. When it comes to contentment. And guys, I have to say this straight off the bat, that God's contentment that he births within you is really real. You experience that, you feel the effects of that. It is something that changes your mind. Those experiences you have with God, and you will have them, there's no question about it, they actually build your faith and your hope. You're looking at God saying, well, if you can do that, then you can do this. There's no question. If you can do that, you can do this. There's no question about it. And you walk forward in that place of real faith and real hope. And one of the things God really wants is that he wants us to really enjoy that everyday life, the marriage, the family, the job, all those sort of different things that many people might just find really boring, and goodness me, I wish we just win the lottery and stuff like that. Well, how about feeling you've won the lottery already, just so what you have? Things that changed in me, and of course changed, many other Christians that I've seen before as well. You suddenly start to experience a real appreciation of your job, for example. Maybe God's had to shift you from one place to the other to have that, but God will put you in that position where you really enjoy that job, when you really feel validated, you feel like you're in a really good position, like you've kind of made it, or you're at least on the first rung of the ladder, but you can really appreciate it and get so much out of it. It's the same again. I experienced the same thing. I always thought that, when I was a couch potato, I basically worked and got to the pub as many times as I could. The family life thing was just, the thought of being no ball and chain and having kids had been a nightmare and all that sort of stuff. And it was before God, for me. But then God changes things. You move on and you start finding this real contentment. You look forward to coming home. You appreciate the house you've got. You actually start to appreciate things you never really thought about before, like food, Life just starts getting that more and more depth. So even in all these, what we'd probably class as mundane things, you find this huge depth. God shows you the depths of that. And from that depth comes that contentment. As God teaches us in his word, and you'll see it in the post description, godliness with contentment is great gain. That contentment in your life is actual great gain. Something you actually experience and you actually feel. It's amazing. It really is. And there might be people watching just now that think, how could I ever be content with what I've got, It's that God, when God's in your life, when he's a part of your life, you've seen these things, you've seen what God can do. You've got that fuel to go forward to find that contentment. Because you've seen him do it, you've got that faith and you've got that hope, and you think, yeah, he can do it. He can really bring me to that place. And many times before God moves us on to maybe greater things, as maybe you want to call it greater things, to that realization of that job or that relationship or that marriage or whatever, is trying to teach you that contentment first, to be happy with what you've got, to really appreciate what you've got. And that can only be done through God. And, as I keep saying, I want to always preach the how. All those basics, those first principle teachings and all that, guys, that's got to be in place for teachings and sermons like this to really activate properly. You've got to know the basics about God. You've got to get to know him through that and have that framework in your mind. Then God, by his Spirit, can light that up and make these things happen. That's how he does it. But we have to follow him in that way. And those basic principles stuff, guys, I used to teach the Christian youth when I was a youth pastor. Youth, get this, guys, it's not hugely complicated. Don't worry about it at all. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be fairly straightforward. But it comes from walking with God, guys. It's about experiencing him, and that's the big thing. This is always the big thing when it comes to the things of God. We've got to experience him. It can't be a book. It can't be teachings. It can't just be stuff on paper or on a screen. It can't be. You've got to experience him, And the great thing about God is that he wants you to experience him, He wants to give you that faith and that hope that gives you that fuel to do things, like find that great contentment in life, Generally, when he finds that contentment for you, he can then move you on to the next thing. But it's walking with him, It's saying to yourself, and this is the great thing about being a Christian, is that technically, guys, all the pressure's off me to find that contentment. You don't have to get in there and try to work as such, that's not how it works. God has to prove that to you. We don't have to prove anything to God, but he's got a lot to prove to us. And believe you me, he is well up for that challenge. But when you recognise that it's God that's got to do it, it's no point in worrying about it. It's no point in me trying this or trying that or whatever, God's got to do it. And it just comes with living with him, is walking with him each day. He changes things, he moves things forward. And all of a sudden you're like, I cannot wait to get home to see my wife and kids. Or I cannot, really looking forward to work today, that you never had before. You're like, how did that happen? God. Only God by his Spirit can do it. And it's my job to take the scriptures, to take the experiences of God, the reality of God, and share them with you. And again, I just really hope, guys, that you really consider doing what I call the first principles teachings. They're completely free. They're online. They're there all the time on our YouTube channel. But that's what gives you the framework for this stuff, for the stuff to actually come to pass in your own life. Because you've got that fundamental understanding of God. You kind of get how he works now, You've got a lifetime of learning, believe me, which is great. But you've got to start at primary school. You've got to go through the grades, guys, to make it really happen. You can't just jump to the end. You've got to go with the process for God. He knows best. He is the master builder. Master. And don't worry about making mistakes. Don't worry about this, that, and the next thing, because God's got it all factored into his plan for you. I've been completely incompetent at many points in my Christian life, and God proves time and time again it's not about me, it's about him. He can do it, he'll do it despite me, but finding that real contentment, it's really quite something, guys. I know you want to see the prophecy and the speaking in tongues and all that sort of stuff, but just watch God, when you start appreciating things that you just thought were mundane before. And I have to say, just in a closing point, that I've seen God work in those ways many times, and it's not common. It's really spectacular, But God's got not an issue, but a challenge when it comes to this life, in that he can't really break free will. People are meant to be free to choose him. So if he's going to bring a family back together, bring back a marriage that's destroyed, all those sort of things, all the different factors, all the people involved, all the different things that are going on, now that's a miracle. That's miracle stuff, how he can work his genius in that despite the fact that we've got free will. There's so many different factors involved, and I'm telling you guys, it's just amazing. You struggle sometimes with it, during the process. You're trying to, see what happens. But, when God really brings stuff to the forefront and he reveals to you how he did it, why he did it, you're just like, wow, you are genius. How could you have solved this problem? How could you have solved this situation? That's what he does, though. And he's very, very, very good at it. So yeah, guys, contentment, real contentment. Mundane life, as people might call it. I think one of the big issues that many people have is looking at YouTube and seeing all these different things happening, exciting stuff all over the world and all that sort of thing. God can have you doing those things. That's no problem at all. But having that peace and that contentment, it's something when you get it, you don't use, and it is good. You've got that faith and that hope, that things are coming, God's going to make things work out. You have to live your life in him. Let him live his life through you, Get to that some other day. Yeah, so thank you so much, you guys. Loads and loads of videos coming, especially in our Birnie Family and Birnie Family Fun channels. We're still building that quite heavily at the moment. I'm going to keep adding sermons to this channel and just keep going and going and going. So God bless you guys, and thanks so much.